guys, it is Mike from Baltimore Rides here. It is Friday night wrap-up video, March the 23rd. I have not made a couple videos in a while now. I was on the road last night. I won't lie. I was on the road last night, Thursday. But I'll be honest, my son gave me a stomach bug the 2 days that I was kind of home with the kids with the snowstorm. And he was fighting a stomach bug like Monday, Tuesday. And I didn't think I was going to get it. I think it kind of passed me over. But then last night, I don't know, I'd been on the road for probably 4 or 5 hours and it just got me. I mean, it was just awful. I'm not going to go into details, but needless to say, it was a stomach bug. It was disgusting. So I limped home. I got about $165 in last night, Thursday night, before I finally just had to pull the plug and go home. But tonight was a much better evening. So I actually went to DC. I dusted off the old map to DC and went on down the road because I had a quest and it was a pretty easy Uber quest. It was 25 trips for $100. There's a higher tier. I think it's 65 trips for $160, but to me, that's bad math. So if I can do $100 in 25 trips, which is $4 a trip extra, then why would I want to do another 40 trips for another $60 or whatever it is, $70? It's not worth it. So, it's really bad math for that second tier. And then I can work on my Lyft rides because Lyft is going to have some pretty crazy surge tomorrow. I just know it. So I said to myself, let me go down to DC. It's Friday. It's the day before all these crazy marches, which are going to block roads and cause traffic and chaos and confusion. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria, the end of the world as we know it. So if I can get DC wrapped up and get my 25 quest in tonight, then I don't have to go to DC tomorrow. So that was my plan. 26 trips in the bag for $190. Then I got the $100 quest on top of it. So it was a $300 night, which definitely helped with the snowstorm. It kind of put me back on the map for the week. I'm still a little below my target, but not terribly so. So if I have a strong tomorrow, then I will be, right back in the $1,000 range. And honestly, that's a great week considering I lost 2 days with the snow. It really is. So if I can pull that off, it'll be a miracle. But I really plan on having a good day tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be a problem. My stomach bug is gone. I feel good. I'm going to take my son tomorrow for a belated Easter egg hunt thingamajiggy in town, and then hit the road when that's done. My daughter is obviously a preteen, so she's got no interest in hunting for plastic eggs in the grass. But my son is still feeling it, I think, for one more year until he grows out of that. And I'm not pushing him to. I want kids to be kids as long as possible. That's kind of my attitude when it comes to parenting, is don't rush them into adulthood, because once you do, there's no going back. So if you have kids out there, let them be kids as long as they can. You still got to be a parent. You still got to give them, responsibility and teach them things and all that nonsense. But let them be kids and hold on to their childlike innocence as long as they can. My kids still both believe in Santa. They still both believe in the Tooth Fairy, all that stuff. So, to me, that's important that you don't take that stuff away, because it's going to go away on its own. Either kids at school are going to burst their bubble, or they're just going to figure it out one day. But in the meantime, I don't need to pop that bubble for them. Let them make that discovery slowly on their own. So, that's kind of that. I ran into somebody. It was actually a really funny story. I ran into somebody in town the other morning. I was going to Walmart to get some errands, and I'm sitting at this traffic light right on Center Street and 140, and this guy in this box truck right next to me shouts at me, and I roll down my window and he's like, "Hey, I know who you are. You're the Baltimore Rides guy." Now look, I got like 110 followers, guys. It's not like I got thousands of people following me. So the odds of him and I both being at the same intersection at the same time on the same day are crazy. But he was a really, really awesome guy. We traded cell phone numbers, and he wants my help. He's got a couple extra questions about his taxes, and just a super, super nice guy. So I'm going to try and catch up with him. He says he's in Westminster pretty often. So, that's, to me, like, that's a great feel-good moment, because, it means that there's people out there that not only are watching my videos for entertainment value, but actually care about what I'm doing. So I really, really appreciate it. And that goes for all of you guys, not just for him. For all of you guys that have stuck with me on this weird journey that's almost a year old at this point. May will be a year that I've been driving for Uber, and and then Lyft came shortly after. But it's amazing that I can say that a year later, people are still interested in what I'm talking about. And sometimes it's the same-o. I mean, how many times have I talked about setting goals? How many times have I talked about professionalism, or what, all these kind of just generic things that I talk about that I feel like are very much the meat and potatoes of what we do. But it's amazing that I say the same things probably over and over again, and yet sometimes it's resonant or relevant or important that I do, because it connects. It connects maybe one day that it didn't connect the other day, and that to me just means something. It's really special to me to know that you guys have stuck with me through all this. And I was watching some of my old videos, and they were very dry by comparison to where I am right now. They were very dry, very much just about work and just talking shop. And then, somewhere along the line, I guess during the summertime, I started letting more of myself out of the box, and you guys started to just get to know me more as a person. And, maybe how that applied, factors in, because, obviously who I am as a person is going to affect everything. It's going to affect how I work, how I think about things, my problems, everything. So even when I started doing that, and you guys started seeing my craziness and seeing the crazy world that I live in, and the stuff that I've been dealing with my kids and whatever, you guys all still stuck with me. So it's really flattering, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. But I've kissed your butt enough for 1 minute. So just kidding. But no, I don't have a whole lot to talk about on the ride sharing end right now. I feel, this is hard to describe, but I feel there's a productivity level that I've passed. And it's hard to describe. Okay, so I took a couple breaks tonight, but I started around 3 o'clock in DC. And not including my Quest, I had 26 trips in about 8.5 hours worth of drive time, because I took a couple breaks. So, that's pretty significant. It would have taken me a lot more drive time a year ago to do that. And I just feel like even the rides that I'm doing in Baltimore, I may not always get to 200 every night, and some nights I don't, but I feel like my productivity has increased. I'm taking a longer break. Sometimes I'm taking 2 breaks, and to me, that tells me something. It tells me that my confidence has gone up. I'm more effective and more strategic in what I'm doing. And some of the things I've noticed to share with you guys are, like let's say a night that I'm driving in Baltimore. I'm using obviously both Uber and Lyft. So what I'm doing now is when I get to be about a minute away, about a half a mile to a minute away from my destination, I'm turning on the other app. So I haven't even dropped off the passenger yet, and I'm turning on the other one. So, if it's Uber, I'm turning on Lyft. And if I get a ride request, it's fine. I still finish my delivery, I drop off my person, and then I plot my course from there. And no one cares. If you're an extra half a minute to a minute, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. So that's one thing I'm doing differently. And it shortens the curve on how long it takes for me to get another ride request. Even by that extra minute, even by 1 extra minute, it helps. The other thing I'm doing is I'm not repositioning nearly at all. Now, if I get a ride from Baltimore all the way to Columbia, Maryland, and Baltimore is surging and Columbia is not, then sometimes I make the judgment call to turn tail and run back to Baltimore. But if I get a ride from Baltimore to White Marsh or to Rosedale or, Edmondson Ave, whatever, somewhere out on the Beltway, I deliver the passenger, I pull over somewhere nearby, and I wait. And usually within 2 to 5 minutes, I get a ride request. It may not be surging, it may not be, prime time, whatever, but I wait. I'm not driving my car around burning gas. And I'm not chasing surge either. If I, like it happened to me the other night and it bit me in the butt. Where was I? I had a ride request that was a rather long pickup. It was like 14 minutes away up in Cockeysville or Timonium. And I'm on the Beltway heading towards 83 North, and then I see there's a surge cloud over Towson. Of course, me being the knucklehead that I am, I canceled the ride request because Lyft, I'm not going to get long pickup fee anyway. And so I really don't like Lyft rides that are more than 10 minutes away. And I headed to Towson. Now, by the time I got to Towson, it had faded. It wasn't gone, but it had faded. So sometimes I get caught chasing the cloud just like everybody, but I'm trying not to. Now, does that mean I'm not going to drive where there's surge? If I know there's surge downtown and I'm not downtown, I'm going to try and get my way there. But chances are, if I get a ride all the way out to the burbs, my next ride is going to take me towards the city. It's like a boomerang. If you're working a city, Baltimore, DC, it doesn't matter. You might get a ride out to the suburbs, but probably your next ride or your second or third ride after that is going to take you right back into town. And it happens almost always. It's not always the very next ride, but even if you ping pong a little bit, each ride is going to get you a little bit closer, because what you get is people that are outside of town going into town and people that are inside of town leaving town. Those are the two sets of customers. The third set would be people that are in town that live in town and are maybe just driving a mile down the road. That set counts too. But I don't reposition nearly as much, which is saving me on gas. It's saving me on mileage. The mileage I don't mind so much because it's deductible, but the gas is an expense that adds up pretty quick. So, saving me on gas is huge. And also, if I'm not wasting time repositioning, then I'm potentially not driving myself away from a ride. If I'm sitting still, I'm going to get the closest request to me. If I'm moving, I might pass by a request because I might drive 30 seconds out of its radius and then somebody else gets it. So repositioning is something I'm trying to minimize and not do unless I absolutely have to. Now, if I wait 5-10 minutes and I don't get a ride request, then it's time to move. And what I'll do is I'll pull up both maps, Lyft and Uber, and I'll see where there's surge, if any. Lyft calls it something different, but it's surge. And if wherever the closest patch is, that's where I'm going to head towards. So it might not be the city. It might be Owings Mills. It might be Dundalk. It might be the Amazon warehouse. Who knows where it could be, but if wherever the closest surge is to me, I'm going to roam in that direction because it means there's ride requests there. Even if they're not going to be surging when I get there, it means that people are requesting rides. The last thing that I've noticed is I'm getting a lot better at understanding the patterns. So if I start at 1 o'clock, I know I'm going to get some college kids at about 2:30. I know that shift change at the Amazon warehouse happens at like 7 p.m. I think it's like 6:30 or 7 p.m. The night people go in and the second shifters come out. I think they work like a 10 to 7 shift. I also know that the part-timers work 2 different shifts. I think they have a 10 o'clock shift as well, because I've gotten surge there as late as 10 p.m. So there's different things that you learn patterns of. You know, you learn when the college kids go to, you know, change their class. You learn when the school kids get out. Although I don't really like driving high school kids around. They definitely don't tip, and they're generally slow. They take their time getting in the car, and they don't tip. So, and they're obnoxious. So, you know, kids are definitely not my preference. I don't have a problem with high school kids, but, you know, really, I don't want to be doing Ubers and Lyfts to a middle school or an elementary school. And you're going to get that in the city, and you're really not supposed to. It's against policy with both of them to drive kids without an adult. So unless you want to fall into that trap, you know, avoid those areas like the plague. So, you know, lots of little things I've just been noticing that my efficiency has been getting better. My ability to work smarter, not harder. Oh, excuse me. You know, and I think Lyft is the way to go, but there's days like today where I have a really strong Uber day in DC of all places, you know, and I had a great Uber day the other day in Baltimore. So I'm not objected at this point to either one. I really am a true contractor. I'm a mercenary. Whichever one's giving me rides is the one I'm going to drive. Now, if I have a quest or a bonus or something like that, then I want to work that. You know, Lyft is good at giving out these do 4 trips consecutive and get an extra $20. They're great. The ones over $12 are really, really good. Sometimes it's 16, sometimes it's 20. But think about that. If they're making you drive 4 trips and getting an extra $20, they're giving you an extra $5 a ride. That's huge. Now, they don't pay you per ride. At the end of it, your last trip, they add $20 onto. But even so, if that last trip is a $7, $8, $10 trip, now all of a sudden it's a $30 trip or a $25 trip. That's a great trip. So you're getting paid extra to do something you would do anyway. So whenever you see those Lyft text messages come through that say, you know, consecutive bonus or whatever the hell they call it, you've got to work those. Even if you're not going to make the power driver bonus, even if you don't have enough peak hour rides to worry about that bonus, you've got to work those consecutive trips. It's worth it to turn Uber off because all it takes is for you to log off Lyft and it resets. If you get one ride with Lyft and then you log off of Lyft to do an Uber trip, it resets and starts back over. So it behooves you to take advantage of that free money. Now, if it's $10 for 4, I mean, that's, you know, or $12 for 4, that's still $3 extra per trip. It's not bad. I mean, it means a minimum fare becomes a double fare, becomes a $6, $7 trip. So think about the math, guys. Think about the math. Whenever they give you any kind of free incentive, you want to take advantage of it if you can. If you can. If it's realistic and attainable. But I'm going to log off here, guys, because I've been talking a little bit too much and my throat is getting scratchy. And I will be back out on the road tomorrow, guys. Everybody have a great night, and I will see you then. Bye.